Welcome back, everyone, to Radiant Resilience. I have a returning guest today that I am very excited to have this conversation. I have with me Kelly Balcer. I just clarified that before we hit record. Kelly Balcer, she was recently on episode 101, telling her journey about her infertility story, which has some parallels to mine. So we have just really connected on a deeper level with that. So if you want to hear her entire backstory, go back and listen to 101. It is currently my most listened to episode. So give you props for that, Kelly. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, that's exciting how that happened.
So we're going to have an interesting conversation today on something that is currently, at the time of this recording, triggering me immensely and frequently triggers both of us and everyone out there struggling with infertility. So we're going to touch on things that people say that are hurtful and upsetting that you shouldn't say, some things that maybe you could say instead, as well as, and this is the most important one for me right now, is how to handle pregnancy announcements with your friends or family that are infertile. I feel like I've touched on this topic till I was blue in the face, and it is amazing to me how many friends and family around me still have no idea how to handle this situation. So I don't know. It's just, it's so tough, right?
Yeah, this is one of the hardest parts, I feel like, of, when those announcements come in, and if it's a close friend and sometimes a family member, you just hope that they would know from knowing us how to kind of approach it better. And then sometimes they still don't. So it's hard with that disconnect.
Yeah. So let's start talking about why infertility grief can be difficult for people not going through it to understand, because I think especially in your situation, in my situation, we never ended up with a pregnancy. We never ended up with, any type of pregnancy, obviously no babies, but grieving something that never actually came to be. And I also think grieving the life we thought we would have, right?
Yes. Those are the biggest parts. And I think that, that's why it can be so misunderstood, maybe, is because I was thinking today, I'm I think there's just a disconnect where people, maybe even a lot of people that know our story, maybe they've been involved in hearing updates and stuff too, but they still have this idea that if you just keep trying, it will eventually happen. I think there's a lot of that idea just in society in general, is they just think it will eventually happen. So they see the fact that you will someday be a mom. I feel like they don't see that this big reality for us that we feel especially at this point, we feel like we will most likely not be.
Yeah. And I mean, I had that thought early on. I'm not going to lie. I thought, okay, I'll just keep doing IVF. I'll keep doing all the things and eventually this will work. The problem is that repeat grief.
Yes.
Of the failed cycles, the arrival of the next period, the constant negative pregnancy tests, the canceled cycles, poor retrieval results, the financial stress, all of that.
Every single part of it is a nightmare.
Yeah. And I mean, I have said multiple times, I had to walk away from it eventually I had to choose my own mental health because I couldn't continue the grief cycle over and over and over.
Yeah. And I also was thinking, I think that maybe people don't always connect the idea that, when you've stopped, and we don't call it quit, but when we have just stopped, I think is the best we can, to not put a feeling to stopped, but it just is, because if you couldn't anymore, that's very valid to just stop. But we don't want to call it quitting. But I think, people just don't really connect the fact that, because you've stopped, it doesn't mean that you don't want it anymore. And daily grieve that. I think there's a disconnect with that, too, where it's just maybe they think if we've stopped that we're okay now or something. And that's not true. It's a journey to finding, ourselves again.
Well, and I'm a little bit further ahead than you are on that journey. And it's a fucking journey. Yeah. It wasn't I stopped my fertility treatments, decided I wasn't going to pursue that piece of it anymore, and I was okay. It has been a process.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And, a lot of it came with trying to love and accept the life that I have because I have a great life. I don't have a bad life. It's just not the one that I thought I would have.
Yeah.
And so, it is, it's just been, it's been a journey for sure. That's the best way to put it. There's no other way to put it. And it still is.
Yeah. And it continues to be and I think that's just maybe the misunderstanding. Maybe there's a gap between where people think that what people think that this means to stop versus how we may be actually feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And then for me, I would describe where I'm at now with I know that I'll no longer do any IVF, but I am still currently trying. I haven't stopped that part of it, but I'm just trying. I would describe it as I'm trying in ways that feel okay for me right now. And there's going to come a time where no matter how it ends, I'm going to stop one way or the other. It's I don't know if, it's with everybody, we still don't know if that ends with the miracle, but at this time I am still trying, but in ways that are okay for me now.
Yeah.
Sometimes they also feel very not okay. There's
Of
days where
course.
you just want to throw it all, completely be done, but I'm still a little bit in it. And but I recently did come to the point where I'm not sure exactly when, but it came to the point where I do know that I'm comfortable, secure in the idea that I will never do IVF again. Because it's been almost 2 years now since my last cycle. That was September of 2024. And that was when you and I became such great friends connecting long distance like this. But I don't know. I think only within this last year to where I'm I don't ever want to do that again. I'm not willing to go through that for whatever it would entail. Even that means potentially giving up on the miracle. But for me, I don't think it would become successful because the way my numbers and things were. But for a while there, after I stopped in September 2024, there was many times where I was maybe I should do it again. Maybe it's just that one, it's easy to fall back into why not one more? Or how do you know when? But for me, I'm at some point a little bit ago, I did come to the place where I'm I actually never want to do that again. So that is a journey getting to, and I'm glad that I'm at that point now.
I think I still have those moments though. They get fewer and further in between, but
yeah.
I do every once in a while. We were recently hanging out with a group of friends. One of the guys, he has 3 children. They weren't there. One of the other couples, they have 1. And then there was one couple's, follow me on this. The guy of the couple's parents were there. And of course they had, children and grandchildren and all the things. And they were having this big discussion about kids and time and blah, 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 and all these things. And I literally found myself sitting there going, that's it. Tomorrow I'm doing anything and everything in my power. I'm going to go back and research IVF. I'm going to look into adoption. I'm going to look into, and then it only lasted for the night. And then the next morning I was like, well, what the hell was I thinking?
No, and that makes sense. I think for me, I'm not, I guess, at least locally or long distance, close with anybody that had success with IVF. So I'm not around it, in seeing that it was successful for people, I'm not around the success of it.
None of these people did IVF.
Social media. But what did you say?
None of these people I was with did IVF. They all had all these babies naturally with no problem.
Okay, well, that's true too. I mean, just being around kids sometimes too often can bring those feelings of wanting to try.
Well, and I was feeling
too
sad because I couldn't contribute to the conversation, right? I'm sitting there.
It feels really isolating in those situations.
Yeah.
I hate that.
Which is the perfect example of what we're talking about. Again, though, I don't want to discourage people from sharing their lives with their kids. My friends with kids are important to me. Truly, I want to hear about the things to a point. And, but it was just the full conversation of the group and the vibe. And I was
that would bring you back in.
Yeah. Yeah. But I do know deep down in my heart and soul that I'm done with IVF as well. I don't want to spend the money. I don't want to go through the shots. I don't want to go through the hope again, if I'm being honest.
No, yeah. And doesn't it just feel I mean, it's devastating, but there's a part of it that just feels better to be I'm not going to be putting myself through that again because it was just a level of hell that
Yeah.
I don't know. Nobody knows until they've done it and that much of it that just like, I don't know how to ever do that again, actually. Yeah. So it's like, am I devastated that it didn't end in success? Yes. But that's a different story. Like that the two things are separate.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that again.
Yeah. So let's talk about the main things not to say. I'm going to go through a list of things that were just on the internet that we've both heard several times. And then at the end of that section, we will talk about anything else that you and I have experienced outside of these things.
Yes. Good idea. Thanks.
Because I'm sure there's more. The main number one that pops up all the time is the just relax phrase.
Hate that so hard.
Do not tell us to just relax. Yes, stress is making it harder. However, you fucking go through all this shit and tell me you wouldn't be stressed. Like, come on.
Yeah. I'm like, especially IVF in itself is honestly the most inherently stressful thing that I think like a body can go through.
Yes. It is very unnatural to put our bodies through. I mean, we force our ovaries to overproduce. You know, it's all artificial. It's a lot.
Yeah, we can't avoid the stress of it, so maybe stop telling us that. Yeah.
I mean, even the stress of trying naturally and getting your fucking period every month.
Yeah. Nobody wants to be told to not stress or like it's coming from people that they think that they had success of getting pregnant because it was the month that they didn't stress. But that's not even true. Like I'm sorry, but it was probably just going to work anyway. It wasn't because you stopped thinking about it or all these things
And also this and this is going to apply to many of the things we're going to talk about. Sorry, my dog's outside. This also implies that it is my fault that the IVF or fertility is not working.
Yeah. Like we have control. It's like don't stress means like they know we're stressing and they think we're causing our infertility by stressing. And it's like, what? Who are you to think that I would cause such a thing as this? Yeah, that's how that one feels.
Yeah. And that, like I said, it applies to a lot of these things because the reality of the situation, and you and I know this intellectually, we may not feel this way, emotionally, but it's not our fault. We are completely out of control of this entire situation. And the more I see who gets pregnant and who does not, the more I realize it is just random as shit. Like it is not as predictable as everyone makes it out to be of a science. It is literally a miracle. And it's amazing to me how, the drug addict that's homeless on the streets gets to have 8 babies and I can't even have one. So,
yeah, that's the whole thing of it is like naturally we can't help but stress about it because we are trying to control and wanting to do anything that we think we can to fix it if there were a way to do that. So of course we're trying to do everything we can do. And that's inherently adding stress. But it's not, I tell people, it's like, it's not because of the stress that we can't get pregnant. It's actually because of like all these other things, like factors that we may have found out along the way, and then things that are still unanswered too. Like, know that we have endometriosis, but I'm always like, there's got to be something else too if it's
100%,
still not working.
100%.
Yeah.
Okay, next one is something that pisses me the fuck off more than anything. I think maybe even more than the just relax. It will happen when it's meant to happen.
Hate that. That's like same as like that comment I feel like is the same like meaning and thing as it will happen when you least expect it. I kind of think those are like so similar. So it's like when somebody said that to me, like those just really hit hard. I can still think of like the person and where I was when I get told those comments.
Yeah, and this one is just like you're basically so I didn't have success. I have never been pregnant and you're telling me I wasn't meant to have a baby? That's what you're telling me. If I do not succeed, I was not meant to have a baby. And that's bullshit.
Completely. I'm like, and then it's like the people that say that, it's like, who are you? How did you become like so high and mighty? I want to say that you can decide that that's just what it is. Like, who are you that you have like the answer on that. Cause
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but like maybe you realize that you don't have even the, I don't know, the ability to say something like that with the meaning that's attached to it.
And I do believe that that is a thing for certain situations. But like, was someone meant to get cancer? Was like someone meant to die before their time? Like,
No.
this is the same type of situation that of those things that you're throwing that comment into. And I just think it's just not helpful. That doesn't make me feel better.
No, absolutely not. Like all of these different things, like I think it's like one of those things where the person, maybe they feel better when they're saying it,
Yes.
but I don't even know why they would. But like people say that they would feel better like when they say it, but they don't even realize that how it comes off. Of course, I mean,
Yeah.
because if they did, they wouldn't say it, of course. But like I don't know, to say that, I think it makes them feel better that they can put meaning on it.
Yeah.
That like everybody wants to feel like there are answers that make sense in the world, and people are really uncomfortable to get to the point to just see that there's not answers that make sense.
Yeah. And let's be clear, like, I should have started with this, but like, I know that most people that are saying these things are trying to be helpful. Most people are trying, they want to help us. They want to fix the problem. They want to have an answer for us most of the time.
Yes.
But so I realize that the intentions there are good. But I'm just telling you, like, this is not a helpful statement. And many of these are not.
Yes. Yeah. And no, that's a good key point you brought back in because I was thinking about that today too. I'm like, I do sometimes try to remind myself that when people say these things, they are trying to mean well.
Yeah.
But there's unfortunately still a difference between like how it comes off. And I think that people that care would like to learn to do better. So I think that's what
Exactly.
we're here for on this.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we're all for teaching you too. You just have to like be receptive, pay attention, listen. I mean, like I said, I feel like I have talked about this stuff publicly for a long time. And it is amazing to me how many people close to me still just don't get it. So,
Yeah, definitely.
okay. So, next one. God, these are all doozies. I just know it's going to happen for you.
This one feels so painful for me. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, like there's a few points on this, but like, how do you know? You who's saying that, how do you know that? Number one. And secondly, like they don't know that and they need to understand that they don't. And it's them like missing the mark and not understanding like what might this feel like to consider that your number one dream in life is to be a mom, but you're in this place where like we know that it may never happen. And we're like on this journey of coming to terms with that. And then people say things like that and they want to think that it's going to happen. But I wish they would just know that they don't know that and that they don't have the control to even say something like that for what it means.
I mean, look at you and I. Like, okay, now what do you say to that?
Yeah, like, oh, okay, you know that. Well, thanks. I mean, that doesn't really help. I would be like, that doesn't help me because I want like them to know that it may never happen. That's the thing I think, like, all along the way, like even from parts of the beginning, I think the most scariest part for me was like, what if it never happens? And then all of these comments miss the mark on that because these comments kind of assume that it will happen. So that's where I think the biggest disconnect is like people to learn that we're on this journey of everyday grief of like trying to someday come to terms with like, what if it doesn't happen? Like, I think infertility is all a roller coaster of what if it doesn't happen. And then you've got people telling you basically that it will happen. And you're kind of like, hello, no, like, I feel so awful right now. I want you to know that I'm having to learn that it may never happen. And then you're telling me that it's going to happen. Like it's just a big disconnect. And I think like I can see where people mean well, because like the statements that they say, if it could be true that it would happen, then that would bring hope. But it's the fact that they can't know that's true. Like none of us can.
No. And Like when you were texting me earlier today and you said, like, we're the story nobody wants. Like, we are the story that we didn't want, right? Like,
Yeah.
we didn't want to be that statistic that it didn't work for and it didn't happen. But like, also, obviously, that's a reality. Like, it is
Yeah,
a
exactly.
possibility.
And I just feel like all of the comments like that just miss the mark on like understanding with us that this may never happen. Like, I think that's the biggest thing that we probably want while we're dealing with it is, I mean, you do want some people to be hopeful. You don't want it to be like a hopeless situation. I will say that.
Of course.
Not all hope is lost at different times or whatever, but like you want people to also know that you're holding both truths in your hand. That
Right.
the fact that it may never happen with, I guess, also the fact that it may, and sometimes like the may not can be a lot heavier.
Yeah.
So I think it's like when people don't hold the it may not at all, when they don't sit there with you and understand that you're feeling like it may never happen. They like throw all this too much hope at you,
Yeah.
all the hope at once without any of the understanding that it may not. Like that, I think that's what I wanted people to know the most is like, yeah, I'm trying, like I still am, but it may not happen. And that, like, I think for me, it becomes more important to come to the point of being okay with that, seeing what life can be like and how can I find joy even if it's not what I dreamed of. But then it's hard like being on that sort of path when people are like, no, it's gonna happen. I don't know. I think that's
Well,
kind of
and
all I want.
I think that's a unique position that you and I are in too, like of the kind of, I mean, obviously you said you were still trying. And so you have, more of that hope there probably than I do. But like I had to let go of that hope of the possibility of it one day happening in order to heal. Because if I held on to that little bitty teeny tiny granule of
Yeah.
hope that yes, there is this little itty bitty teeny tiny chance that I might still get pregnant.
Aw.
I mean, it's just,
Yeah. It's the reality,
if I
unfortunately.
held on to that,
Yeah.
I never would heal from it because I would be still checking my app every month, checking my ovulation, paying attention to when I had sex, like all of the things. And I just like, in order for me personally to move away from that, I had to grieve that and try to move past that. And I'm not preventing. I'm doing nothing to prevent. So it's,
Yeah.
not trying, but I'm not like trying. But it's really interesting to get that comment when you need to let go of that hope of it
True.
happening.
Yeah.
And you're like, wait, you're just fucking with my head.
That's right. Like, and I remember when only probably months ago, some lady messaged you on Facebook with that sort of statement that it was like, God says this is going to happen or
Yes.
something like that. And it's like, that doesn't feel good when number one, they don't know that. Like, that's the point to drive in regardless of like whether you're even still trying or not, is that like they can't even know that and say that, I think is the first thing. But secondly, also when you're in a place of not even wanting to feel that hope again, then it's like, especially don't want to hear that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Have you tried ...
Oh, hate. 100% hate. Okay, and this one makes me think of when I was about to start my first IVF cycle, I was already like, it's like, come on, I'd already bought the meds and everything. And then I had a friend text me and say, I guess they didn't necessarily say like, have you tried? But it was sort of the same meaning because they said they had a friend who tried the keto diet and maybe I want to try that before I do IVF. And it's like, girl, like the cart is already leaving the station. Like, I'm farther down this track of like, I'm at the point where like I'm doing it. And I don't think there's other things that like I was at the point at that time, like I would say like for 2.5 to 3 years, like however you count it, the way that our story was, like that's how long we were trying by the time we were starting the IVF. It's like, okay, by this time, like this person who said that, they've lost count or had no awareness of how many different things I did try with my diet already. The different supplements and the different, all these things. Like, have you tried? Yes, like almost all the things I have tried.
Have you tried standing on your head? Have you tried, like, we've tried all the things.
Yeah.
Because let's be real, you start trying to get pregnant, you make the decision, you start trying to get pregnant, you try. Then maybe you start ovulation test strips and you've tried that. Then you've done all the research on, start having sex on cycle day 8 and then alternate every day and then 3 days once you finally ovulate and blah, 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 right? Putting your feet up before or after sex. Cleaning up your diet, cleaning up your cosmetics, your plastics, your all like
Yes.
we've literally done
done it
all.
all.
And researched it all, right?
Yes.
Okay.
For hours, for full-time job hours. Yeah.
You want to hear my best story about this?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to preface this by saying I am not a religious person. So I hope that this does not, offend anybody who is. I had a client many years ago who had 4 children, a very religious family. And she told me that she was convinced that she conceived all 4 of her children because during the sex conception, she yelled God during.
That's a lot to digest. Somebody telling you that even it's a lot.
Give that a try. I was like, dude, that would kill the mood so fast if I did that. Okay, again, I don't want to get into religion and things like that, but really, that's what I've been missing this whole time. I should have.
That's the same thing as when people say that we haven't prayed enough or something. And it's I have prayed for this more than you can imagine.
God, I did the whole meditation, visualize the egg ovulation, the sperm meeting the egg. Implantation happened. I sat and meditated and visualized.
Manifesting, right?
Yes.
That's what people tell you to just manifest it.
Doesn't fucking work.
No.
Not for me, anyways.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So just know that we have tried everything, especially at this point.
Yeah.
This one. You can always adopt.
This one is harsh for a number of reasons.
Mm-hmm. I know that you started the process of fostering, so I don't know how many people know that.
Yeah, so I guess I will say we did the classes and I don't know, it's hard to say where we're at because we've seen so much hard about the system, close and personal with friends too that have tried it.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if someday that could be an answer, but okay, answer. It's not an answer for infertility, first off. It's not an answer. I want to make that clear while I said the answer, But I don't know if that will be still a way that we become parents because we haven't totally closed off to it. But I guess want to say for when people use this comment of have you thought about adoption or there's always adoption and things like that, I think it's actually really hard to think about how harmful that would be from the adoptee perspective. People are out here just throwing around the idea of adoption like it's a plan B. Mm-hmm. And I want to say that adoption is a beautiful thing and it's meaningful and it does, people become families that way. Or people also add to their family who do have kids. So I think what I most want people to know is adoption shouldn't be thought of for people that are infertile. It should be something that everybody considers.
Yes, this is my favorite thing. That is somebody was that you that told me that? My new response to that wants to be, have you thought of adoption?
Yeah, that's right.
Because seriously, anyone can adopt. Just because you have your own biological children does not mean you can't adopt either. Why is it up to the infertiles of the world to adopt all of the babies that need adopting?
Yes. I want people to know it's not our responsibility and it's not our answer that you tell us because you want to fix our situation with it. I want them to know that it's actually very complicated.
Yes.
And the more that I looked into it, I always knew that it was complicated, but it's one of those things where the more you look into something, you find it's even more complicated and it's even more expensive than probably most people think. I think a lot of people don't think about the cost. I don't think they're aware that I think it's said that the average is $50,000 to $100,000 for private adoption.
Yeah.
that's probably domestic and international. Like, it's both very expensive if you're adopting outside of the foster care system. And then to adopt in the foster care system, that's just a very complicated, they're both complicated, but that is even less guarantees. Like, it's a whole wild card of whether you will even get to adopt. And
Yeah,
then
it's not a guarantee.
Yeah, neither one is a guarantee at all. And I recently heard that, so I always knew that with private adoption, something that I think a lot of people don't know if they haven't looked into it, but I know that you can end up losing all of your money if the birth mom decides within it's like 24 to 72 hour window that like depends on the state, but there's a window where they can all decide if they would like to parent their child.
Yeah.
And if they decide that, but you've already paid because you've gone through the process with them of agreeing to do this, you lose all of that money. And then I just, what I recently learned with that is that they say that happens in about 20% of the time. I guess don't quote me on that because I learned that from someone and I didn't, fact check it. But just the fact, it probably happens more than you think that the birth mom may decide to keep the baby and then you do lose the money. I think a lot of people don't know you lose that.
Yeah,
There's a lot to lose.
I have a friend that did that. Like they got, and this is why they're starting to match people with birth moms much later in pregnancies than they used to. So as close to the due date as possible so that if that happens, then the adoptive parents don't lose as much. But I have a friend that happened to, and she said that it happened. She knew they got matched too early, but they went with it anyways.
No.
And then the mom backed out and they had paid all her medical bills up until that point. Like not the full pregnancy, obviously, because they got matched still later in the pregnancy, but still too early. And the mom backed out and they lost everything. Like you don't get that money back. So
yeah. I think I forgot that you probably told me that once, but man, I forgot that you knew someone that happened to. And it's like when you see that happening to someone, it really makes it scarier to consider that option.
Yeah.
Like that's how I feel when I've seen friends have sad, hard losses with babies that they were fostering.
Yeah.
When you do make up your mind that you would want to adopt, like I can't imagine then having it taken away.
Yeah. And then now don't quote me on this fact. I did not fact check this, but I have heard that in some states, Colorado being one of them, the biological mom can come back up to 2 years to claim them back.
Okay, I think I've heard something like that before. So
again, I don't know. I know there's some rule like that. I don't know the exact things, but that is what I have heard, at least about Colorado, is that the biological mom has up to 2 years to come back and claim that child.
I think that Carrie had mentioned something about that with California too. So like per state, there may be different things like that. And
shout out to Carrie Hoskins.
Yes, we love her.
We love her, yes. Yeah. So anyways, adoption, fostering is not the solution. Yes, it is an option for sure. Not for everyone, and everybody needs to do what's best for them. And like suggesting this is not, I mean, I get it so often now because I'm like, oh, I was unable to. And then they're like, oh, have you considered adoption? And I'm like,
yeah, it's like somehow it seems like it's people's like quickest solution for you. They're going like, they're not taking the second to think that we've thought about it before. I think when it comes off, it sounds like they're feeding us like fresh information. And like, I want them to know that we've thought about, like, I have thought about it probably more times than I know how to like count to.
Yes.
I have thought about, it's just the same as like, have you tried? Yes. Like I've thought of and tried many of the things. Yeah.
Yes. Adoption included.
Yeah.
Especially at this point in our journey.
Yeah.
This is a fun one. I get this one all the time. At least you can travel whenever you want, sleep in, spend money on yourself, have freedom, be the fun aunt, focus on your career.
This is big. I wrote this down today being like, this is something I think that people misunderstand. That I think that they see a couple with infertility and they think that couple is still in the phase of enjoying life before kids. That's exactly, I think that they just think that even though we're childless because we don't have them, at this time or not, we don't know if it's going to happen, but they see that you don't have kids right now, at least. But sometimes I think these comments still attach to the someday mentality, the mentality that they think it's okay because someday you will. So I feel like that's a little bit looped in with maybe the thinking of it. But yeah, it's like the idea that they think we're still having like a good time in life when it's like, especially when we're still in the trying phase and the grieving anytime, we are like, all of this is still attached. Like we're grieving daily, no matter what decision has or hasn't been made yet. So we're grieving. So we're not able to enjoy life just in the way they think that we are somehow.
Well, and for me, like I've been with my husband since high school. Okay. Like, and we've had fun. Like we've traveled. We've done a lot of amazing things. And I did get this comment early on of like enjoy the time with your husband while you have it. I'm like, dude, I have. Like,
see, it's the while you have it, or like somebody told me to be grateful for my husband. And I'm like, I am. That's the thing. First off, like I am. But then I want people to know that you can be grateful for what you have and still be very much grieving a life that you didn't get to have. I think that's where they're missing it, is they're being like, you must be enjoying the time. And it's like, don't you think so?
I get this comment or a version of this comment even when people don't know about my fertility journey. So, because I'll get new clients that I haven't shared any of that with, but they find out I've traveled and I've done all of these other things. And then they're like, well, that's why you don't have kids, because you like to travel. And I'm like, whoa. Back it up a minute. I mean, yes, I have been able to do a lot of that because I don't have kids, but I also kind of wanted to take my kids to do those things. So
yes, that's the thing for us. Like people are seeing that like we're still in a like they see it's like a flexible time of life. We have the time freedom. I'll say that we do, but it's not what we wanted. Like to have that. Like we wanted those kids with us on the vacation. We wanted those kids with us at the park. Like we want to go take a walk in our neighborhood, see the park, play at it with the kids that we wish we had. So like all of those things that they think that we're enjoying, like we're not enjoying it in the way they think we are, because there's a big missing piece.
Yes. So let me go back to that too, because as I stated earlier on in this, I have had to re-find the joy in those things, which has been a really difficult process to find the joy in those things in order to move past and grieve my fertility journey and be okay with my life as it currently is without children. So like I got away from all of those things. So in the midst of infertility, that is like not, of course, at least I can sleep in. Great. Wonderful. I kind of would love to be woken up all night long by a baby right now. I know if that actually happened, I'd probably feel differently, but
yes.
You know, but and again,
we want that. Like they don't. We want that. Sleepless nights, sign me up, because it means that you have the child. Like that's the thing, is like we wanted to take the hard that comes with parenthood because we know about all of the good that there is there, and that's what we wanted. We don't want to take the hard that comes with infertility. It's completely different things. And I know that people who have been through both, like people that come out the other side of infertility with a child, I hear them say to people that the infertility hard is so much harder than the parenting hard.
Yeah.
So like, and wish people would know that, we know that it's hard to be a parent.
Of course.
We get that. And like, we understand that people aren't having a walk in the park. But however, that is the hard that we wanted to sign up for instead of this hard. So I guess there's that.
Yeah, it's a very different hard for sure. Gosh, some of these are pretty awful. Oh, this one. Okay. We're almost to the end of this list. You're still young.
This one really stung because I was like, not young with it anymore, but when I was, I'd be like, but don't people see, like they're saying that, but don't they see that if I was young, isn't it a red flag that fertility hadn't worked out? Because that's how I was feeling. Well, I was like, I'm young and it should be working, but it's not. So like big alarm bell there. I don't know.
I started trying when I was like 28.
Yeah, and I was the same, like 28 and 29 when I like started treatment and
And
stuff.
people were saying this to me when I
Yeah.
was like 35. And I was like, okay, sure.
Yeah.
However, I started having problems when I was in my late 20s. What makes you think it's gotten any easier? Like, it's not going to get easier. It's just going to get harder. And 35 is considered a geriatric pregnancy, which I don't necessarily think it should, but it is. And like, you know, this one baffled me when I got it. I was just like,
Yeah, it is weird because it's like if it wasn't working when we were young, then how is young being a positive thing either? Because it wasn't working when it should.
yeah, and I mean, people were saying this to me while I was in my 30s, like mid to late. I mean, I'm 38 now, so I guess 35 is not that long ago, but people were saying it to me then. And I'm like, in the world of fertility, 35 is not young.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I get that too because I'm almost at that 35 now, and I don't think I've heard that comment in a while, but if I did, I would be like, why are we choosing this one at this time?
Yeah.
Like, I think it doesn't make sense after a
Yeah.
point that they were even choosing that comment. Yeah.
I think if somebody had said that to me at 26, 27, 28, 29, I would have been like, yeah, you're right. I am young. That's true. I have time. But by 35, I had no more time.
Yeah. And like I felt like that a little bit. Like I would know that they were being hopeful because when I was young, but I did like mostly like I said, I was like, well, if I'm young, then why is this not working? Like that was my biggest was like, okay, like, you know.
Because there's something else going on that no one is looking into, which is a whole other episode.
And I do even feel like the doctors too. Back then, I feel like one of my doctors, because I had so many of them, I kept trying because I wasn't getting the right fit with how any of them were acting about the situation. But I do remember like at least the first one, he did make a comment about being young. He just thought it was a shoe-in. And it's like, can these doctors like get with the picture that even though we're young, hello, we just showed up at the fertility clinic. There's like some kind of multiple reasons why we're here. And it's
nobody
not because we're
wants
young.
to go to the fertility clinic.
Yeah. So maybe do your job. Yeah, to some of them, it's like just because we're young, they need to not think that we were a shoe-in because time told a different story.
It does help, but I do think that things are changing now too. I mean, I've talked a lot about, I think the environmental factors play a role. And I think we were exposed to stuff a lot longer than our parents were exposed. And I think the next generation is going to be even more exposed. And it's probably going to be even more of a problem. I just saw a statistic. Yeah. I might have to pull this up because I don't want to butcher it. But I saw a statistic recently. Can't remember if I saved it. It was like the amount of babies born from IVF from when IVF started, which has been about 40-ish years, I think, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Has tripled.
Yeah, and so like we know that infertility has risen greatly, and it's like nobody's yet doing enough about the reasons why.
But this post was celebrating the success of IVF, okay? Which is great, of course. I'm very grateful that that is an option out there. But can we address the elephant in the room?
Yeah, it's like there's not... infertility rose greatly without anybody taking the time to like solve it yet.
Like, you don't need IVF if you're not infertile. Like there is a problem that is deeper there that we need to work on.
And we don't want to be doing IVF. Like it was a worst nightmare to try to go down that path.
Yeah.
That's like I don't know, that's a whole nother topic as well. But like when people think it's like exciting that you've gotten to the point where you remember those comments, like and I just want people to know that it was my biggest fear. And then they were saying how exciting. And that's another thing. I want to go back to like, I try to think of it like going back now, it's easier to remember than it was like at the time, to know that people mean well and they're coming from a place of like there's just a lack of like, they don't know what they don't know. And we can't fault them for that because before we had to experience infertility, we didn't know either what it might be like for somebody going through IVF. So probably would have thought it was exciting too, because you think that someone's going to end up with a baby.
Right.
But that's the thing is like, if having known what the success rates are, that I didn't learn till like after my first cycle, that it's like 1 in 3 cycles end with a baby. That's pretty low. Like that is harsh. And so knowing that, like knowing more of the data, I think would change the disconnect to where people are like, that's exciting. They say it's exciting because they think we're going to end up with a baby. But like, at least, especially looking at doing 1 cycle, there's more of a chance that you don't end up with a baby. Yeah. And then you go from there, depending how many cycles that people choose to do and then stop. But it's like, I think there's that biggest disconnect where like, I probably would have thought that it was exciting too. So I don't want to like discount that. Like I get where people are thinking that, but instead of exciting, when you look at the statistics, it's actually like worst nightmare to be in that place of like this became our only option and it didn't. What would have been exciting is if it happened naturally, like it happened for that.
Yeah. So we're going to touch on this kind of briefly and then move on to the next thing because I feel like we've kind of talked about it as we've gone. But like, what can people say instead? I feel like instead of all of these things, I feel like the simple part is just like, I'm so sorry you're going through this. It really sucks. I love you. Let me know if you need anything. Can I do anything for you? Check in with us, like that kind of stuff. I mean, what do you have to add to that?
Yeah, no, I think that's great. I think like the biggest thing was for people to recognize that we're in a place of knowing that this may not happen. And maybe they could put themselves in their shoes and put themselves in our shoes. I mean, and say like, what if my biggest dream in life didn't come true? And know that that's what we are feeling. So like they could think about, maybe they don't want to be a mom. And so they don't quite understand, but they like anybody can think about what's something that you want most in life, like more than anything. I think everybody probably has something like that that would mean the most to them. And so maybe to understand where we're coming from, they could think about what if that doesn't come true? And then how would they want someone to treat them? Like you could reach out to your friend with a card. You could, just little ways to let them know you're thinking of them, I think is.
And I think acknowledging the struggle has been huge for me. Like, I just want people to like acknowledge it and recognize it and validate it. And not that I need that validation, but it certainly helps, with the whole thing. Like just saying it sucks. Like, yeah, you're right. That's not fair. It's stupid. And you deserve this and you are worthy of this. And like, I'm so sorry you had to go through this and it's bullshit. Like anything like that, like don't try to fix it for me because you can't fix it.
Yes. Yeah. And I'm like, I understand people wanting to fix it and that's where those comments come from. But best important thing is if they could just try to not fix it. Like you want people to sit with you in it. Get with where you are at as best as they can. That's what, like the validation that you're speaking of, like that's what we want. It's like those kind of ways instead of like trying to we don't want comments that try to make it better, but we want comments where they're listening to us.
Yeah.
Like maybe you have a friend who wants to know how they could, the support that they could offer. And that would be like, they don't have to know the right things to say, but they should just put like listening to you at the number 1. Like, being able to like hear, like the listening would be key because then they could learn more about where you're at now at the given time that they're listening. Like, because it changes for us at the, like we've discussed and stuff. And if they're thinking about listening to come to understand where you're at, that's going to be first key. And then from there, it's like, if you know that there's somebody who really cares and you feel like they're more listening than trying to solve it, then maybe you'll be more likely to reach out to them for support too. So then we can create more of like the two-way street with friends and family is like, if you've established that, that's a level of trust that needs to be established by them kind of listening, I think. Yeah.
I think that was the next place I was going to go to is creating a safe space for us to come and say the icky, nasty things that come through our brains.
Yeah.
Because like we feel shame for a lot of the things that we feel because we are sad about our situation, not mad at other people, right? But like it comes out sometimes that way, but also it's just the honest like truth of how we're feeling. So creating that safe space with the trust, like you were saying, of like, you know, you can come to me, then, you know, yeah, I'll feel comfortable reaching out when I feel upset about an infertility situation or when I've been triggered or when I'm not okay. Otherwise, like if you're not checking in and you haven't created that safe space with me, you're not going to be the person that I come to when I'm upset about this, you know?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a big part of it is like creating that space where it becomes that two-way street of communication where like if they've listened to us and not offered like the fixing of it, then that's who makes it more likely that I'm going to come to is knowing that I can tell them something and have them like show me support in a way that doesn't try to fix it. Like show me support that doesn't have the comments attached. Like everything happens for a reason. There's a big one. It's like you don't want to come to somebody if they're going to tell you those things back. You want to come to them if they're going to listen and support and the validating, like being sorry that you're going through it and continuing to go through it and that they you know, just like they wish that you hadn't had to go through it, that things like that where they're like, you deserve to be a mom so badly and they're sorry that you can't or haven't been able to and things like that.
Yeah.
Instead of just being like, I'm sorry and you will be a mom someday. That it's a lot different than I'm so sorry that it hasn't happened how you dreamed.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Let's talk about pregnancy announcements.
Yeah, we need to cover this one. So yes.
So this has me really fired up right now. But all right. So I want to ask you first, how would you prefer to be told that someone close to you is pregnant at this point in time?
In a private, thoughtful text message.
Yes.
Where they have texted me individually, so not part of a group message, because I've had that as well, but they text just me and share their news. And I want them to know that I'm not trying to take away from their happiness, because of course we want all of our friends to be happy. But then I want them to know also that because of my history with this and how badly I have wanted to be a mom, I want them to keep in mind that this is painful, to keep watching it happen for other people. And then I want that to come across in the message, like that them sharing their news, just come right out and say it, but in a private message, and then show me support in that same message.
And let's be clear too, we are happy for our friends. We do not wish our situation on anyone because it is a nightmare. But like we are sad for ourselves. Okay. So in our situation, and we're like, I'm just going to full transparency. It's jealousy. I am hella fucking jealous. I'm sad for myself. I'm angry at the universe and the powers that be because I have not been chosen and someone else has.
Yeah, it's all of that. But how could we not be? Like, we're trying to be a good friend too, and that it's painful for us to be in this situation. So we just want to be thought of that you've thought of how this might come across. Like, yeah, that's really it. It's like you said, though, we would never wish this on anyone. So especially our friends and family, we want them to have their families, but then we just want them to remember and think of what this might be like for us.
And the acknowledgement again, right? Like, you know, the people in my life that have done it right are the people that have been like, hey, I know what you've been through. I'm so sorry you've been through it, but I want you to know I'm pregnant. So-and-so is pregnant. That's whatever, you know, but like, you know, I understand if you need time to process this, like you get back to me whenever you need to. But I wanted you to know it. That is like just acknowledging the struggle.
Yes.
And giving a kind heads up. Okay, two worst things I'm about to share, which recently happened to me at the time of this recording. Social media posts, being surprised by social media posts. Now, that also depends on how close you are with the person, right? Like close friend or family member. If it's a distant friend or well, like then whatever. But like close friends and family, don't tell me via Facebook post. Just saying. This is the one that most recently happened to me that is shocking via a baby shower invite.
That's right. Like having that just come all the way to your mailbox first. Like I can't imagine.
Who the hell is pregnant?
Who would address that? Like who would put the stamp on that without even like
That was a first. That was a first, and it was rare, but like I'm just telling you. Before that baby shower invite hit my mailbox, somebody should have given me a text message that just said, hey, heads up, so-and-so's pregnant. That would have lowered the blow immensely. Then when I got that baby shower invite, I probably could have been like, yay, I'm so happy for her.
Yeah, that's the thing is like, I think like I understand that people would be afraid to tell us. If they've even considered us, let's say that first. If you've considered us, like somebody that may tell us, like we probably know that you're afraid to tell us, but it's still best that you just tell us.
I mean, we need to acknowledge that, okay? I do want to acknowledge that it is not an easy task to do to your friends and family that are infertile. I understand that that is not easy, but also what I want people to understand is that if I get upset, I am not upset with the person who told me or the person that's pregnant. Like, this is a me thing. This is totally a me thing, but you acknowledging it and telling me in a kind way helps so much. And it gives me a moment to process, to cry, to be angry with the universe, not the humans involved.
Yes, that's true.
And then I can be like, all right, this is my friend, this is my family member. I love them dearly, and I would not wish my situation on anybody. I'm very happy for them. Like,
yes,
it's a process that we have to go through, but I think people are afraid to do it because they don't want to hurt our feelings, right? They don't want to upset us. But also, this is one of those things that we will never... This is not something we will not find out eventually, right?
Yeah,
like,
it's gonna happen. So you might as well rip the Band-Aid off, but tell us in the nicest way you can. But like, you have to tell us.
We will
find out anyway. Because baby is due in X amount of months. Like,
and
it's gonna happen.
So shows up at Christmas with a baby. Like, I'm gonna find out.
Yeah, so might as well. It's like anything in life. This goes back to you better just be honest. Like,
yes. Yeah, just be real, be honest, be upfront. One of my dear friends, I just need to like, she knows who she is. I'm not going to say her name, but shout her out here because I think I got the kindest message from her out of anybody that's ever told me. It was like this mile-long message, and I'm not gonna lie, it still hurt, and I was honest with her about that because she's that good of a friend. Like, it still made me sad. I was very jealous. I told her that, you know, like, but I was like, oh my gosh, like, to this day, I have thanked her multiple times for the way that she has told me because it meant so much to me that she acknowledged it and she did it in the right way and she listened.
Yes.
Right?
And that's the kind of way that like when people can give us that, that's what's going to continue to keep the relationship strong that you have.
Yes.
Like when they can think of you as a friend or family member should and give you that courtesy of letting you know, like that means a lot. I have had just a handful of people that have done that correctly. And it meant a lot to me and still does, like you said. Like those friendships that did that, I've remained a lot closer to those than to the people that didn't do that.
Yeah.
It really does like make an impact on you how we hear that news. And so if we hear it in a way that we know we can hear the way you care about us in your message, that means a lot. Like that they can think of us that way and be considerate about it.
We also know that this is the reality of life. People are going to continue to get pregnant. People are going to continue to have kids. I am sure we will have triggers down the road when people start having grandkids. Like, that's going to be it. This is like a never-ending battle, and it does become a little bit easier, I think. But there's going to be lots of different triggers. But I'm also aware of the fact that people are going to continue to get pregnant. People are going to continue to have babies. People are going to continue to have success with IVF. People are like, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
It is a reality of life. And we, as the infertiles, know that we need to heal enough to be able to accept that. But that doesn't mean that like the triggers in our feelings are not going to happen anymore.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like over time, like I can feel how like things have changed for me over time where like I'm not maybe triggered in the same way that I would be by things that happened years ago when I was like very much in the infertility process.
Yeah.
Like, although I'm still trying now, like it is different for me because like I guess I can like see a light at the end of the tunnel. So things also hit differently when people say it versus how it did years ago. Because like, I mean, it is survival. Like I had to heal in some ways to get here, but it's like we can still have those times where like the tears maybe aren't over and that kind of thing. And so people's kindness just goes a long ways if they can consider what maybe could be triggering because some things still are. So
and also if you're not the person that like this doesn't have to be the person that's pregnant that is making this announcement to us. Like it could be another friend, it could be another family member, like if it's one of my sister's friends, like she could tell me about it. If it's another family member, then somebody closer to me, like a sibling or a parent could tell me about it. Like
that's very valid too.
If
everybody forgets to or doesn't say, then that's
all I need is one person to acknowledge it that's close to me, and it will make the entire situation better. And like, I have been feeling like I'm finally in a good place that I feel like I probably could. And again, this is another topic for another day, but like I could probably go to a baby shower for someone that is very close to me, whether it's a sister or a family member or whatever. But I'm going to be honest with you, if it's not handled well, not going to go.
Probably out that door. No, I'm like, for me, I don't know if I could do that yet. I just don't know enough.
I don't know for sure either because I haven't been in a long time.
True. Yeah.
But I feel like, again, like I said, if it was family and I'm surrounded by a bunch of family or, like one of my siblings, I mean, obviously that I would suck it up for no matter what. But like, I feel like I could, I felt like I was getting to a place of being able to do that. But I have realized that it really depends on how it's handled.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point. Like, and for one thing, like that's huge of you to feel like you have come to that point where you could even to consider trying to go to one. Probably like that's a big place like that maybe people don't know. Like that's a huge progression to getting to where you have, which is huge. But also like if it went terrible, like, or just even the thought of that is scary. Yeah. Like you don't know how it's going to go. Yeah.
To be honest, no one invites me to them. Like the only invites, again, this is why this could be a whole other episode. Like the only invites I've gotten in the last like 10 years have been to baby showers of family because they probably feel obligated to invite me. And, and again, I know that this is something that people are trying to save my feelings and, not put me in an awkward situation. But I don't know about you, but I want to be able to make that decision personally.
Yes, that's a good point is like with this whole topic of, the pregnancy announcements and the baby showers with both, like we don't want to be excluded. We want you to be able to tell us about the announcement in the same way that we want you to invite us if you would have ever considered us somebody that you would invite to the shower regardless of infertility, then you should still be inviting us and letting us decide. Yeah. Like give us back the power in that situation when this whole thing we have been through has taken away our power in so many different ways. So at least give us the courtesy that we have the power to choose, are we coming or not?
Yeah. And, also I want everybody listening, if you're not infertile, please put yourself in this position for a minute of like, what if there's a big secret that everyone knows but you. How does
Yeah.
that make you feel when you find it out? And even though people were trying to not tell you to spare your feelings, how
Yeah.
does that feel?
It's
It's
still
not
a
nice.
secret. Yeah.
So anyways,
I
that's a little
know.
separate, I guess, from the baby shower. But yes, I always want to send a gift, to be honest. Like, I'll go through your registry and send a gift. So at the very least, send me an invite so I can reach your registry and you can get a gift.
Yeah,
But
that's a good point. It's like, and that's true, is like, we want to celebrate our friends. So that's a good,
yes,
like, we do
and
want
they
to give them
deserve
a
it.
gift. But we want to celebrate them in a way that still feels comfortable for us. That we don't want to also have the expectation on us of having to go to the shower too. We want them to hopefully be open to knowing that we would like to try to be there if we could, but we want them to be understanding if that's a place that we can't bring
Yeah.
ourselves to be too. So
Yeah.
there's kind of both. Like, just the consideration that you would have for anybody going through something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think this is one thing that we can touch on really quick too is advice to friends. Don't disappear because you're afraid of saying the wrong thing. Please don't.
Yeah. We still love and care about you and want you as a friend. It's
But
just,
also, there is a difference between the friends who try and the friends who don't.
yeah. And people do disappear. Like, I don't,
Mhm.
maybe to just say that, I don't know, I've had that happen where like you just feel like people disappear after a while because they are uncomfortable with what to say.
Yeah.
We don't want that to happen, but it's the close friendships that stay because they are willing to check in and how are you and things. And it's like being willing to take that step. That's what creates or keeps strong friendships while you're in infertility and the healing afterwards, is people that are willing to check in. And just like
Yeah.
all grief, like you don't want people to disappear, but
No,
it
and
happens though. But
it does.
it's
And it
just,
does for
yeah.
many reasons throughout life,
Yeah.
But also, I think that the friends who do stick around and that those friendships last, like, even if they say the wrong thing, they acknowledge it, they apologize, and they're like, how can I do better next time? And you know that they want to do better. And they like, I really truly believe there is a difference between people who are trying and people who are not. So even
Absolutely.
if
Yeah.
you're trying and you say one of these things or you say the wrong thing, that doesn't mean we're not going to be friends with you anymore and we're mad at you for forever.
No,
Acknowledge
yeah,
it.
I'm glad you said that because I'm like, I do know that people are trying, and like if they show that they're trying, like that does matter most at the end of the
Mhm.
day. Like we are understanding people, and like some comments that have been said here or there, like at the end of the day, if we are close enough to that person, we know their intentions, and especially if they show us that they're willing to learn, that helps a lot. Like you said, if they can, if they want to learn, that's just it right there. Like, I have friends that have asked me how they can learn to do better, and like those are my solid friendships because like they show that they are interested in learning, and that shows that they didn't want to hurt your feelings too. Is like, if they're willing to ask and willing to try to change maybe the approach that they have, like that's the best right there. Is like, if my closest friends are the ones that they may know that they don't say the right thing all the time, but I can also know that somebody can't always say the right thing, but it's the fact that they're willing to learn. Yes. That's it.
Yes. And yeah, you can tell the difference for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
it makes a difference. Because like I said, if you make the mistake of saying any of these things, which, we've probably all said them at one point. I've said them before I went through my journey. I cringe when I look back on some of the things I said before this, to people, not just in infertility, but like with any type of grief. I'm like, I said all the wrong things, but that doesn't mean we can't be friends anymore, or I'm just mad at you for forever. So
Yeah, no, we're all learning. Like, as people, we're all of our experiences are adding more to the person that we are now, and like we can all learn how to do better, but it's the people that are willing to learn to do better. That's where you can remain a close friendship. It's like, yeah, I get like us understanding that they don't mean to do us harm, but especially if we can see that by their like their other actions of like the way that they try to mend the situations that maybe they said something that landed wrong. If they're trying to learn from that means a lot. That's how you stay close.
Because we
Yeah.
understand that everybody's human. Everybody makes mistakes. Sometimes stuff just flies out of your mouth that sounded good in your head, and that's okay.
Yeah, it's like, I'm sure I've said things that I wish I could take back to people. I like when I go and apologize, you hope that they can be understanding too. Like that's what we can hope from others and do so ourselves when we know that someone's struggling. So, yeah.
Well, do you have any other final words about things that people shouldn't say and or pregnancy announcements?
Okay, so I guess on the pregnancy announcements, we talked a lot about it being in a text message, some type of message. So that was number one for that is and then we talked about the way to do the message. But I think just with that, I want to say the reason why you shouldn't do it in person. I think maybe I don't know, possibly we skipped over that. So I would just say the reason why you shouldn't do it in person is because we really need that space on our own to process it. And if you do it in person, that makes us uncomfortable in front of you, that we're having to put on a happy face for your happy news and trying not to cry, probably going to cry anyway, or any of the above emotions are going to be happening if you tell us in person. So it's going to be more comfortable for both people if you send a message. Yeah.
And they deserve to be celebrated. They deserve happiness because it is a happy, exciting thing.
Yeah.
I would want that if the situation was reversed. And so that way definitely gives me the moment to have my moment about my own life and my own situation. But then I can celebrate and be excited with you. And that's what I want to do, genuinely.
And it's a lot more easier than in person. In person, we don't get that space to process, but we want to celebrate you, but it would be very difficult in person coming to that news up front.
So not in a group, not on social media, not in a group message.
Yeah.
And also don't surprise me.
Yeah, that's not sorry.
I think...
But it's not a fun surprise. Unfortunately, and I know that they may be wanting to surprise people because they want to celebrate, but for the friend that we are or family member, we're just not the ones to be surprised.
And I will take your secret to the grave, and that is your business to share. I have had friends that have shared with me before they shared with their families.
Oh, yeah, that's true too. And that's really respectful that they did. Yeah.
That is not my business to share. So if you haven't shared with anyone else, you just make sure you let me know that.
Yeah.
And I will take that to the grave, but it means so much that you're telling me, not because we're just best friends or whatever, but because you were acknowledging that this was going to be hard for me and you wanted me to know before you, blasted it on social media or whatever, whatever the case may be. So,
yes, no kidding. Yeah. Yeah. I think, covered so many things, and I think my two other big ones that we will not take the time to get into, but I just want people to know that these are painful. Please don't say everything happens for a reason. And please don't say time heals all wounds. Because both are also factually incorrect. There isn't a reason to explain this that would ever be enough that would be okay. It's not going to make us feel better. And the time doesn't heal all wounds. Just that it's not correct. So let's just take those away from people's vocabulary.
Because if this is my reality, that I am never having children, and I have decided that adoption and fostering is not for me, that is going to be a forever hole in my heart and soul. Plus, my infertility journey changed my soul and the person I am completely. Some for the better, some for the worse. But it took a piece of me that will never be able to be replaced. It just isn't. So yes, time will make it easier to deal with, and I will be able to maybe come back from certain triggers and situations a little faster. But I think the grief is always going to be there, and the hole is always going to be there.
The way that you've described it is perfect, because yes, we will heal. We will come to a place where we will hopefully heal as much as we can. But I want people to know that it's still there. It's not because this infertility and wanting to be a mom so badly, that is an identity crisis. And then
Mhm.
the not being able to become means a change in our identity, like
Yeah.
reforming who we
Mhm.
wanted to be, then who we wanted to be, and then doesn't end up who we become. That is an entire shift right there. And time doesn't heal that kind of a wound.
Yeah.
It doesn't heal it in the way that people think it does. It's
Yeah.
because it's so big. It's still there.
Yeah.
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 Well,
Ugh.
yeah.
Well, I hope that everyone listening, if you're infertile, I hope you've listened to this whole thing and been like, hell yeah, these ladies have touched on everything. I can totally relate. You're preaching to the choir. If you are somebody who's not struggled with infertility, I hope you learned something, because I did not think that I had to continuously say these things, but apparently I do. So,
Yes.
but truly, like, it's a struggle, man. I mean, like any type of struggle in life and grief in life, there are things to say and not to say. I know that I've learned through this journey that just saying, I love you, I'm sorry, I'm here for you, this sucks, goes a long way. So,
Yes. Yeah, absolutely does. Yes.
well, all right, my friend. Well, I'm so glad we got to have this conversation. This has been so fun. I think we talked about doing it in our last episode. So I'm glad we finally sat down and did it, because I think it's going to be super helpful, I hope, for a lot of people out there.
Yes. Yeah. I know, like, it was asked about too by some people that I shared my episode to. And so I hope that people do appreciate and are able to learn from it, and especially those that are wanting to. And we
Yeah.
appreciate those that are wanting to. So we want it to those that are wanting to learn from it. Thank you.
Yes,
So
because we
it
know
goes a
it's
long
not
ways.
easy. We know it's
Yeah.
not an easy thing to deal with us and this whole situation, because it is inevitable that it's going to continue to happen with people we know and love and care about. And yeah, we just ask that you love us, give us grace, and acknowledge our struggle. I think, goes a long way. And
Yes.
kindness.
Yes. That helps a
So,
lot. So we thank you that are wanting to learn from it. And
yes. And share this episode with all your friends if there's anybody out there that wants to know how to deal with infertiles.
yes, share away.
Share away. All right, everybody. Kelly, thank you so much for coming on here and doing this again. Thank you, everybody, so much for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode.